then should we look at some of the drums? So the original drums that we had were derived from a few different loops. If I go in here, these are sliced up loops. So this is the first one. So I think it's a loop that was originally set to play at a faster tempo, 110 BPM I think, and we slowed it down to 63.385, that highly common tempo, and it's given it the samples are all spaced out and given it a sort of glitchy, gappy sort of feel that's quite nice.
It sounds like sort of old vinyl in a way, doesn't it?
Yes, it's almost got some clicks and things, but in this case we thought they added to the track. It's a bit like the preset thing. You hear, you might put in a loop or a preset, but it doesn't mean you just need to sit there and a bit of messing around, and sometimes taking it completely out of the envelope, slowing it down, so it starts sounding ridiculous, and then you sort of think, oh, if we just did that, it might work in this particular instance.
Well, also I think there's a kind of thing of not just, I mean, obviously there are, a lot of the presets are fantastic and that's why they're usable, but nearly everyone has got all this stuff, so in some ways it's nice to give your own personal stamp on some of these things, because otherwise, you hear a sound as a musician or a producer and you think, oh, I know exactly what synth that's come from, I know exactly what, and even if it's just slightly different, I think it gives you possibly the edge, to just make it sound as if it's one of your things rather than just everyone else's, even though it obviously is everyone else's as well.
So this was another loop that was originally 115 again, so quite similar to the other one.
We were wondering about whether or not the bass drum was loud enough or heavy enough, and that's one of the things we were wondering, whether or not it'd give the track more punch by emphasising the bass.
But I was just going to put the original drum beat that we put you in, but they work quite nice together. But they have a strange sort of feel about them, which is quite interesting as well. And there were more drums that we added later on down here somewhere. These are from a plugin called Stylus RMX from Spectrasonics, yeah. So it's been around for quite a while, but it's just a sort of standard hi-hat, well, as much as a hi-hat can ever be standard. Just an eighth hi-hat, quite a soft sort of warm thing, but the whole track has got a sort of soft warm sort of feel. And then I think there was a crash that we put in from time to time from the same plugin.
There's also quite a few little textures that do similar things, aren't there? Like there's an Omnisphere sound, which is a ambient pad sound, and then there's two or three sounds that are doing similar sorts of things, but because they're slightly moving around, they're not all playing exactly the same. They're playing very similar things, but not playing exactly the same thing. Like the pulsing, there's that backwards pulsing, gives another sort of rhythm, doesn't it?
Okay, this is what the backward pulsing does. So it's a tonal thing, but it has a rhythmic element as well. And again, this is a part that Bob's played in, and you can see later on it sort of develops as the track develops. So, it's nice to have the track sort of opening out and closing down and sort of ebbing and flowing in this sort of ambient style of music. And then there's the other more just standard sort of pad sound that was, again, both those sounds was from the Omnisphere. I'll open that up for you. That's again a Spectrasonic sound plugin, which we both highly rate. I mean, we've had so many sounds from Omnisphere, it's crazy, but they're all really lovely, and they're quite organic sounding, and they evolve over time as well.
Yeah,
so
definitely. It doesn't. I mean, although they are electronic, they don't sound obviously electronic.
It's well worth a look if you can. So this other pad sound, again, quite a nice, but that's quite a sort of continuous sort of sound throughout the track. It doesn't vary that much. Yeah. Just gives you almost an ambience.
Yeah, but then even if you just put the first part in again, and hear how different it sounds. You know, it gives it a tuning, doesn't it?
Yes. Also expands it seemingly. Yeah. This is another Omnisphere sound. Again, I think this is one that we've. If I take bring that over there. So if I take the plugins off, I think it's just a guitar sample from the Omnisphere, but we've put a guitar processor. This is just the standard one from Cubase, and then also another favourite of mine is the Fab Filter Volcano 2, and that is we've got a sort of bandpass filter on here that's being automated and slowly getting brighter and brighter. So again, there's this thing of trying to evolve the track as you go through. So you can see that moving very, very, very slowly. So if we put those, oh yes, so you can see it's much brighter than it was earlier in the track.